Okay, hello, my name is Kate Holson. I am St. Joseph's Academy's president of our engineering club, and I will be presenting our solution to the annual Gateway National Park Engineering Competition on behalf of our club. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the current state of the problem. We're going to go kind of into our brainstorming, our design process. I'll talk about our final design, what we decided on, some of the more fine details. We'll talk about the benefits of this design. We'll go a little bit into the budget and finish up with our timeline. So this is the current state of the overlook. As you can see from the overlook itself on the left and on the right, from that ramp to the left of the overlook to kind of show that gap that we're trying to close. So while we were there, we were taking measurements and we found a few problems with the current design. The first one that we noticed was that it is slightly unattractive. So we wanted to, and then to the left, there is this beautiful ramp, beautiful park, lots of greenery, very inclusive, very welcoming, very lively. And we wanted to kind of bring that into the design on the overlook as well, because there's cracks in the concrete, there's weeds growing through, it's just not very attractive in general. So we would like to bring elements from the park nearby into our design. We came up with, so then we started our design process and we came up with a few ideas. So we started sketching, we started creating a design on SketchUp, and then we kind of started brainstorming together as a team. So we came up with a few ideas that were later discarded. Our first one was to kind of demolish the top half of the overlook structure to make it smaller, more appealing. But then that was discarded because we found out that that was a storage unit, and the cost of demolition in general, we just tossed that out. So then we decided maybe we would build up stairs from the overlook and have a bridge come across to the eaves. That was later discarded as well because from the ramp, it would obstruct from the view of the Eaves Bridge, which we really didn't want to do because the whole project is to honor the history of the bridge. We didn't want to cover up in any way. So from this, we landed on our design. So first off, we are incorporating the railing that is at the top of the Eaves Bridge throughout our entire design. That ties in the modern part of the design into the old with these Roman arches. The Roman arches are going to be seen in our bridge design. This railing is going to be cohesive throughout our entire design that I'll talk about in a minute. But one of our main parts is on the overlook. We're going to tear down that wall, the walled railing, and put in this railing instead to kind of match. We wanted everything to be very cohesive and not to look like just new construction tacked on at the end. We want it all to flow together really nicely. So we took inspiration from the current architecture. And then, so what our design looks like, we're going to add that railing around the perimeter here, you can see, on the overlook structure. That will connect to a pedestrian bridge that will eventually connect to the eaves structure. We're going to add an external staircase to the eaves and come down to a little concrete platform that will connect to the pedestrian bridge. Everything will have that same railing design around the entire structure, and everything just very clean, very simple. As you can see here, I'll talk about these a little bit later too, but some of the more fine details, we're going to be having planter boxes, some viewing technology, and then plaques with lots of information to make it educational. But I will talk about that in a minute. So here is another photo of our final design. So we have that staircase that's about 6 by 21 by 16 feet, and then that railing's about 9 by 54 feet. But as you can see, the design, very cohesive, flows together, similar to like new additions. You don't want the brick to not match. We don't want that. We want everything to kind of flow very nicely together. So some architectural notes. This is an existing staircase that was previously attached to the Eaves Bridge. And we would have it be running perpendicular to the eaves. They have theirs parallel. And we noted here the number of stairs that they have. So it was more than we had anticipated. We want the bottom of the stairs to meet where those arches are. So if we came across that there were going to be too many stairs, we would change our staircase design slightly, and we would have the stairs running parallel like they are to a platform, and then have a turn to where they're perpendicular to connect the arch and that part that juts out on the eaves bridge as well. So that would have to be a slight moderation, but we don't think that would be an issue. And then also to the left, you'll see where these bricked in arches are. We would want to bust those out and actually have our pedestrian bridge go inside of those for added support so that the weight gets pushed down to the ground instead of just being connected to the exterior of the bridge. And similarly to the staircase, there's that arch on the side there. We would also have the staircase be connected actually through the interior. And then we obviously wanted to make this space for everyone, make it very inclusive. So while we were there, we noticed a lot of families coming down the ramp to the left of the overlook because they had strollers. And we thought that they wouldn't be able to get up the stairs, and we figured we could add a ramp to make it more inclusive for families, for people in wheelchairs, or for kids with bicycles, strollers, or scooters, things like that. So we added a ramp here to the left of the staircase, the existing staircase up to the overlook. We also added some plants, some greenery, maybe local wildflowers or plants native to Missouri to bring a little bit of life to the space as well. And we have these park binoculars so that kids can look at the river, we can look in more detail at the bridge, and just overall be able to admire the space more fully, because really it's about the visitors that come in, it's about the community around it, to make the space functional, yes, but also aesthetically pleasing and educational as well. We want this to benefit the community. So our entire idea with having the stairs come down and then across and having the stairs be hidden by that part that juts out, we want the view of the Eads Bridge to not be obstructed or be obstructed as little as possible. We want this to honor the anniversary of the bridge. We want the history. It is so important, as they were talking about in the presentations earlier. It's important to the history of St. Louis. It's important to the history of Missouri. And so we want to honor that as best we can. So that's why we chose to lower our pedestrian bridge and also to bring a little bit more life and more fun to the design, instead of just having a blank platform. So we'll go into budget a little bit. You have a more full budget description in your executive summaries as well, but we received quotes from both Bridge Brothers and Roadrunner Bridges, and they helped us kind of look. Roadrunners was 10 feet by 56 feet, but Bridge Brothers was 9 by 54, which is a little more what we're looking at. And their budget was all around $65,000 to $70,000 for the manufacture of our custom bridge with those railings. Then we're going to install the steel railings on the overlook, about $9,000. And then that staircase and the platform is all going to be around $22,000. Adding in the ramp and some flowers, everything all together around $35,000 to make a budget of around $135,000. We added in some labor, and error is all in the executive summary as well. A little bit of a timeline. So this was based off of the quotes that we received, but also based on the seasons that we think would be ideal to work in. So the design process is starting now and would go until it's finalized. We have the manufacturing and the manufacturing mostly in the fall, and then we would look for demolition and installation in the winter when there's less visitors coming in, to finish up with our flowers blooming in the spring, so then when it's open to the public. And basically we can overlap a lot of the pieces of our project because they don't really rely on each other. So while the bridge is being manufactured, we can have that railing installed on the overlook, things like that. They can overlap. Okay, here are some of the resources and companies we used for our quotes. And thank you so much for listening, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I just want to know a bit more about your group. How many people were in your group, like working on this project? I know you're the only one.
Yeah, three of us projects. Yes.
So,
Switch.
I did have one question about the build. So you talk about connecting your stairwells to the arches. Is it for an actual entryway or just for viewing?
It would not be for either. It's more structural, so it would come through the arches just to add support to the staircase. Like, yeah, it's structural. You wouldn't be able to go through that at all. It's not like a public entrance. It's
Okay.
just structural. Yeah.
So I'm not going to ask you anything about your design or presentation. I'm going to throw one in here and ask you about the north overlook. And the first thing I thought of when I read through these is, what were they thinking? And how would you approach a design of the north overlook if you had done it 10 years ago, I think, when this design of the redo of the grounds came up, that would help a follow-on like this project?
I don't think I would have made it as solid and bulky as it really is. I think that it's very distracting. Also, when we were standing on that ramp, you can't see most of the bridge. It's covering up a lot of it. And if you couldn't get up on, it's just stairs leading up to there. If you couldn't even get up on there, then you can't view the bridge. And then you go down to the ramp to try and view the bridge, and it's blocking that whole entire entrance too. So I just think the whole thing is kind of awkward almost. And I know that it's storage underneath, but there was no attempt to make that a nice space. You know, there's no benches, it's really, you just walk up there and look out over the ledge, I guess, but it's not, I don't think that they match the intent of what they were supposed to be doing. And there's one plaque, I think, with information on it, and I don't think it even mentions really the Eaves Bridge. It's talking about Lewis and Clark, so, you know, which is important, but also the history of the bridge is not really honored either.
Great. One other question. What was the most unexpected or interesting thing you learned about this project?
I read a little bit about the history of the bridge itself. It's obviously beautiful, but I don't think I realized the scope of how important it was for St. Louis in general. Also just viewing it, the amount of, the level of transportation that just one bridge carries, you know, there has the train underneath, the cars, you have pedestrian, and then the boats underneath. It covers so many things in just one structure that I thought was just so interesting, and the way engineering can change lives and change the whole scope of the city. It was just really interesting.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
I think you were on.
Oh, yeah, it is. The red light's on. I thought it was off. So I work at the Gateway Arch, and not many people go to that overlook, I admit, yes, but if we have a design like this that attracts more people, we always have to think about safety. And then stunts, people, they take it as a challenge. I'll hang from the side, or step up in the planter and jump off because I'm suicidal. So I've been at the Arch, I guess, a while, and in my time I do know of at least one jumper from, not the north, but the other one, the south overlook. So is your plan modifiable to account for if someone says, well, we need some security features for safety? How would you adjust that?
Yeah, I think that that's super important. And I see what you're thinking about if the planters are so close to the railing, you know, you can climb over the top. That is definitely modifiable. We could have planters more closer to the center as well, so you can kind of walk around the perimeter, but you couldn't climb up and jump off. So yeah, we could have our green space more in the middle where you can walk around the perimeter instead. That's modifiable. The benches or the binoculars can also be closer inward. I think that that's important to have space between what we add and the railing. The railings would also be obviously standard height, so that would be as safe as possible. But I think that that's definitely a concern and something that we can modify as well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I just had one more question. Semi-generic, but so you've got 2 quotes. Was that just to give a range of like the general estimates of the project cost, or were you still undecided between the 2?
We just got 2 quotes to kind of get different. The Roadrunners Bridge was prefabricated, so they just like pumped those out and just already made those. So we would, if we were doing this project, we'd go more with the Bridge Brothers design. It was a little more what we were looking for, but yeah, it wasn't undecided. We were just trying to get different opinions.
Yeah. Okay.